Good morning, everyone. We're continuing here in the KITZUR HILCHOS SHABBOS, and today we should round off the laws of Kiddush. And he writes, "Ulefizeh," according to everything that we said yesterday, that a person is allowed to drink before they make Kiddush, which means in the morning when you wake up, water, coffee, tea, before you go to daven, you'd be allowed to drink. But we said that once that you Davening Shacharis, then there's a chiv, an obligation to make Kiddush, and therefore you would not be able to drink between Shacharis and Musaf unless you actually made Kiddush already. Well, you could say perhaps that someone that is sick, the halacha changes for them. What is that? They are allowed to eat before they daven. If somebody's very weak and they need food before they daven to give them the strength, so they have the ability to daven, they're allowed to. It would make sense then that perhaps they're obligated to make Kiddush before they even daven, because if they're allowed to eat and you can't eat until you make Kiddush, so then you'd have to end up making Kiddush before you eat. Well, if he said dino mibari, and that would make it that the halacha by a person that is sick is more stringent than a healthy person. Since that they're always obligated in Kiddush, they wouldn't even be able to drink once it becomes daytime. And therefore, if a person would be so sick that they need to eat before they daven in the morning, on Shabbos morning, then they should ask a shaila, do they need to make Kiddush or not, even just to drink their cup of coffee. Ulefizeh, and this is something that we're going to discuss now that's very much pertinent to women, pretty much almost every Shabbos. Ulefizeh, gam lenoshim yishtana adin. Even for women, the halacha changes. Women in general are allowed to eat before they daven during the week. Ladies, a woman is allowed to eat before she davens. Because as we know, they don't necessarily have the same setup in the morning. They go to shul, they have a kavud minyan, a regular minyan they daven at. There's a lot going on in the life of a woman, and therefore she is allowed to eat before she davens. We have to say for them as well, since that a woman is allowed to eat before she davens in the morning, so then the obligation to make Kiddush should be upon her from the moment that she wakes up, really from the morning. And therefore we'd have to say that she should be not allowed to drink even a cup of water, coffee or the like, before davening unless she makes Kiddush. The Paiskim, the halacha authorities, they deal with this, and they say like this. If a woman wants to drink in the morning before she davens Shacharis without making Kiddush, so the best way to do it then is to drink something before she makes any bakasha, any of her daily requests. What does that mean? Since that a woman during the week, she at least has to make some kind of request from Hashem. Lot says mitzvahs tefillah shalah. That's how she fulfills her obligation of prayer. Meaning, even if a woman didn't daven Shemona Esrei, but she's asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu for something, so she fulfills her obligation of prayer. That's the way the Rambam explains it. It's considered to be prayer in the place of a man, meaning a man has to daven the whole Shemona Esrei, but a woman can just say, please HaKadosh Baruch Hu, give me strength today. And therefore, as long as a woman did not say this kind of a bakasha, this kind of request, and she doesn't want to eat either, therefore the obligation to say Kiddush has not yet fell upon her, and she'd be allowed to drink without making Kiddush. However, if after the fact she already said a bakasha, she already said, please Hashem, then at a time of need, then if in the future before she's going to daven Shacharis, before she hears Kiddush, we allow her then to drink as bli Kiddush, even without Kiddush. So if she already said something, but she plans on davening Shacharis still, so she could continue to drink without making Kiddush. Avalim eina sila as well, but if she's not going to daven in the future that day, she already fulfilled her obligation by this one bakasha, this one request that she made. Eina lishta, then she should not drink until she makes Kiddush. And then she also has to eat, because as we learned before, Kiddush must be made b'makom suda, in the place where you're going to eat the meal. So she has to make Kiddush and eat some mezainos and the like. And this really is the halacha that many women follow, that Shabbos morning, especially those bli ayin hara that have children and the like, and there's a lot going on in the house, it's not always so easy to get yourself ready to daven, and the time of davening could be many hours after you wake up. So in that case, she wants to eat. She should make Kiddush first, eat, and then when she has the chance, she davens to Hashem. All the best.